What happened to the dog, Brandon? Wasn't he at the end of the tape? He actually is a Ukrainian dog, Winnie the Pooh. Hey, welcome to WPYP TV. We pick your president. And in fact, we have a guest today, Erica Pilcher, who's no stranger to WPYP. Oh, there it is. There's Vinnie the Pooh. He's a Stalin dog. I can't look at you, Eric. I'm not supposed to look at you. I'm going to be doing like a Chris Herbert.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
I got to. Oh yeah, he woofs. But he's a Stalin dog, a black Russian terrier. But he's actually from Ukraine. And even the Russian people I know are horrified by what's going on in Ukraine because they're victims of this tyrant just as well as the Ukrainians. We can only hope that Russians are already on the edge of just absolute poverty and living right on the edge. And now it's even worse. You know, the ruble just collapsed. Maybe there'll be a revolution and get rid of him. But Russia, which I've studied for it's almost 50 years, has been, let's put it 45. You worry that another czar will arise. Hey, Eric, you're from the state that also picks a president. Why don't you say hello to the audience?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Pilcher. I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I do work with Matt Connerton Unleashed every Friday. I have a classic film review that airs at approximately, give or take, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm very honored to be a quasi-frequent guest on WPYP TV.
I think you were the last guest on Ward 13 and the first first guest on WPYP. And speaking of PYP, we've got Gonzo's arrived. Hi, Gonzo. How are you doing?
Oh, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. Yes, it's your first time on WPYP.
Yeah, WPYP.
Next week, we're having WPYP presents Manchester Infamous, so maybe you can be here for that.
What do you, what is
Not Manchester Famous, Manchester Infamous. Eric, I am the infamous John Hopwood, according to certain politicians.
That Eric
Yeah, it's Eric. Eric, say hello to Gonzo.
Hello, Gonzo.
Oh, hey, what's up? That's what you look like. All right.
He's got The Godfather, which was the bloodiest movie of its time, other than like any Sam Peckinpah movie. And then he's got Taxi Driver, which is even more violent. We're talking about the times. Taxi Driver was such a shocker.
I enjoyed his movie. I liked, what was it? Menace to
Thank
Society.
you, Gonzo. I appreciate it.
I think. Right?
Eric, talk about your project. I guess that you'll be wrapping up because it's no longer African American History Month, Black History Month. Tell the folks what you did and about the archive of reviews.
Well, what I wanted to do was kind of encapsulate as much as I could in 4 weeks African Americans in cinema, and there was some trials and tribulations that came with that. Originally, Sweetback's Badass Song was supposed to be the first movie. And what I ran into is, one, it's an X-rated film.
That's right.
By an all-white jury. Secondly, it has very minimal dialogue.
That's right. It's true. It's very visual.
Very visual, especially with the screen, with the filtered juxtapositions Melvin Van Peebles used. And it was just so hard to try to explain to people when I was writing the script what the power of the film was in a verbal medium, because they can't see it.
We'll do it here in a couple of weeks or so. We'll have to be. This was Melvin Van Peebles, 1969. It was it was this tremendous. It's a movie made by a black guy about the black experience because he plays something of a pimp. This is before the culture went mainstream, and Iceberg Slim was the epitome of the pimp. But his novels were published by a black publishing house in L.A. I have some if you want to read them, and I have a lot of the literature of that time. And it was just this watershed movie. It wasn't as successful as Easy Rider, but in a way it is like an African-American Easy Rider in the territory it broke.
I actually read Melvin's book. It's Sweetback's badass song.
Uh-oh.
Is he all right?
We've got you. We've got you.
The way he speaks
that was a stroke.
on the making of the film is mind-blowing.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that another time. But Gonzo, which movie review did you like?
So was it
Menace to
Society, right, Eric?
Yeah, that was a very hard one to do.
Yeah.
The amount of editing that went into that was insane.
Yeah, like O-Dog and like that was an edgy one. I remember the 90s when there was an influx of that type of movie, a glimpse into their life of mostly South Central, LA. Boys in the Hood was one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that was an
ever.
excellent movie.
What a wake-up call to New Hampshire, though. Like, to watch that and be shot for potentially walking across the street would be something that we don't experience here. Like, but that's life, man. You got to keep your head on a swivel and like, whew. But
my father actually liked those movies. He said it reminded him of the 1930s. Of course, there wasn't the amount of lethal force then because people didn't have as many guns. But, he actually identified with the gangbangers because, his heroes were like Jimmy Cagney in the 30s.
I think the value of life was just like lost at the time. Like, I don't think they valued life. I think your life meant
It's not that they
nothing.
don't value life. It's that they're living in a jungle.
They're living in a hard time, too. Hard times.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
It's a world of despair.
Unlike the ghetto, like South Central and the areas of L.A., actually look middle class. But, I mean, like lower middle class. They don't look like slums or that. But, because of the economic deprivation. And how does a smart guy get to the top of society? Yeah. It's just like in the 1920s or 30s, like if you're Italian or Irish, you become a boxer, an entertainer, or a gangster.
It's like Boys in the Hood. The guy was going to make it through football.
Right.
But then he got shot at the end. It's like, oh, bummer there.
He had to get the SAT score to get into USC or something.
But but Menace to Society was a different one. That was basically about this one guy, and he was just like, not only did he come up through hard times, but I feel like he was like clout was his currency too.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean, like impressing his peers.
What are the great
being the man,
right? But that's why the films are so attractive to culture at large. You'd say white culture or whatever. It's because in a society that like where masculinity is now criminalized. What do they call it? Something masculinity.
Toxic masculinity. In that people really respond to somebody with a pair of cojones, whether it was Jimmy Cagney in the 30s or Humphrey Bogart in the 40s, John Garfield, who was Jewish, and people like that. They respond to it. They respond to that
bravado,
masculine, the bravado, the masculine energy,
gumption.
Oh yeah, it's like the original Scarface. I think we were talking about that on Matt Connerton's show. I mean, the one with Paul Muni, who was a great actor who came out of the Yiddish theater. I mean, he's a murderous thug. But Eric, you like the remake with Al Pacino?
I like it. I have different ways I look at cinema.
Yeah.
I don't like, obviously Scarface is not the Al Pacino one, the 1983 Brian De Palma, you're not going to sit here and say this is an example of cinematic art. But I like it as I call it a popcorn flick.
Oh,
I like it
jeez,
as
yeah.
I like it as a movie. You can sit there with friends, pop some popcorn, have some sodas, and just watch it. Now, I don't look at it as like this piece of cinematic art that's beautiful and everything like that. But as a popcorn flick, it serves a very good purpose.
I think Rotten Tomatoes would agree with that. If you look at the scores it's received critically, the same sentiment. But I think what it is why do you think it gained so much popularity? Is it because people wanted to be Tony Montana?
Yeah, don't you?
Yeah, like say hello to my little friend, like stuff like that. Like,
Hey, he gets Michelle Pfeiffer. Once she leaves the movie, I stop watching.
because it's almost
That's
comical.
about the time all the good actors have been killed by Al Pacino.
It's almost comical, like the placement of the sounds, like the boom. It's like so like
It's so over
cheesy,
the
yeah.
opera,
Yeah,
it's so
it is.
over the top. I think it's the worst performance of a great actor I've ever seen, because Jack Nicholson, I don't think, is responsible for his performance in The Shining, because Stanley Kubrick made him do like 50 takes, so he's sticking his tongue out and doing all sorts of stuff.
Well, I don't think Pacino's bad. I think he had.
a great actor,
I think he
but-
had a role to play, a scumbag from Cuba, and
was
did a decent job at that. If you
Eric, it's like he's taking Michael Corleone, that great iconic character, self-control and everything, and just flushing him right down the toilet.
But isn't that,
There's some credence to be given that Al Pacino should not have played a Cuban.
That right accent.
But that horrible accent, I think, is a part of the appeal of Tony Montana.
I think that's how he was trying to be, though, a dummy, if you will, like a guy who doesn't really,
Cro-Magnon almost.
a guy who doesn't get it but wins with balls.
But that's true, because Eric, Muni, who had played, who won an Oscar for playing Louis Pasteur or Emile Zola, used to play these great historical figures. He's really playing a Cro-Magnon in the original when he's doing Al Capone, So Gonzo's probably right about that.
I mean, I think he tried to dumb it down, to be honest.
Yeah, savage.
But stupid.
Well, if you watch any, and I'm not bashing Brian De Palma, I think he's a good director. A lot of his films are wore down to the barest essential that it can be. Where it doesn't require a lot of thought on your end.
Yeah.
It's very minimalistic.
Dumbs it down.
And
Dumbs it down, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that and if you watch the quasi sequel Carlito's Way,
Right.
you see which Al Pacino was infinitely better in Carlito's Way than he was in Scarface, at least in my opinion. It's still minimalistic in how the story progresses and everything in that regard.
That's absolutely a great take. But don't you see, at least as an artist, I feel like to appeal to the masses, you have to dumb it down a little bit because the mass is dumb.
Well, it's operatic, so it's way over the top.
You're playing it safe when you dumb it down.
He didn't even act in a movie for another 5 years. I think he made a couple movies at that same time, including a bomb called Author. And then this guy who was one of the great cinema icons of the 70s, he just went off for a long time. He takes acting very, very seriously, as serious as Laurence Olivier did.
When Scarface came out, was it popular?
Oh yeah,
It was, okay.
very controversial though because of the violence and the chainsaw.
In the reality.
Boston was going to get close to couldn't ban it like in the old days, but people were upset about it.
It was actually very close to getting an X rating
Because of the violence, yeah.
Yes, And they went ahead and said, all right, we're going to submit one final cut, and whatever it gets, it gets. And because he just got tired of cutting. Brian De Palma just sent the previous cut in, and they gave an X rating to. He sent that cut in, and he's like, I don't care. It's going to get what it's going to get. They gave it an R rating.
I don't think it's that bad nowadays, though.
I don't know. I don't know about anything that was violent. Soon got surpassed. One of the big things about movies was sadism, sadistic violence. The rap on the Sean Connery, James Bond. We're talking about the '60s. Was that if you watch Sean Connery's James Bond, he looks like he's a killer. I remember the first time I saw him, they had released. You Only Live Twice and Thunderball. Thunderball had been a huge hit. I mean, they all were, big hits. And so the first scene of Sean Connery, I'm looking at him. I'd never seen him before. I thought he was the villain. And then you're watching him punch a woman, if you remember Thunderball. And then he had that mask-like face. And when he'd fight people, he'd have this grin, almost like a cat or a tiger or something. So, and if you Dr. No, he shoots the guy and the guy's trying to kill him. He says, well, you've had your 4 shots. He just shoots him. That was controversial at the time. Then movies, I remember, were Eagles Dare, which if anybody was a TNT fan, remember the TNT cable network, they only showed 3 movies. Were Eagles Dare, El Dorado, and The War Wagon. Seems to be the only 3 movies they showed. That was a big, and Clint Eastwood called that "We're Stuntmen There." That's where Clint kills 200 guys. And, there was stuff, the rap on that was sadism. Because, they're grinding the guy's hands off when he's hanging from that cable car. And,
so excessive.
Right. Those were the things they didn't want sadism. And that's why when you watch The Clockwork Orange, which was one of Eric's first reviews, that was the most controversial movie I can ever remember. Because it's sadism,
UK,
They would not show somebody taking pleasure in hurting people. And
the UK actually had it banned for about 10 years after its release.
In England, it was Kubrick took it off till he died. Because there was a controversy over a copycat killer. See, movies were supposed to, degrade you and make you run out. And then, the guy who wrote Clockwork Orange, the novel, Anthony Burgess said, well, I don't know anybody that watched Hamlet that went out and killed his uncle.
Yeah, but that does exist. That's not their fault, though.
Right, yeah, that's true.
You can make art without repercussions, I think.
The thing is, Kubrick was an artist, but it's show business.
Kubrick. I think Kubrick is one of the few directors that you can honestly say never flinched.
Except for Spartacus, which was his for-hire job, which is very good. But he always disowned it.
Yes. Spartacus is good. I know he directed it, but it's not a Kubrick film.
There are elements, but that's a whole other movie,
Yeah. I always tell people, if you want to see my absolute favorite Kubrick film, it is not A Clockwork Orange.
What is it?
It's Paths of Glory.
Paths of Glory is a great movie. Kirk Douglas. It's an anti-war film. Beautifully made.
And just even though you only watch it for I think it's 83 minutes, it's a pretty short film.
Right.
It's very powerful and leaves a lasting impact on you. I saw Death on the Nile, the newest one that was released in theaters.
Right, a remake of the Perot movies.
And at the beginning, I geeked out in the theater, and my cousins looked at me like I was crazy because they did a homage to the trench shot from Paths of Glory, where the camera is right behind Kirk Douglas as he's walking through the trench.
Yeah.
they did a homage to that, and I'm like elbowing my cousin Austin, who's 20 and he knows a Kubrick, but has no clue. I'm like, that's a homage to Kubrick. That's Kubrick.
Well, Eric, we're going to get into your review that's coming up. Brendan, are you there?
Brendan?
Can you roll B, Batman 1?
We're talking one, right?
We're talking about 1966.
Oh, okay.
Everyone, flee for your lives! Emergency. Batman speaking. Warning all of you to brace yourselves for big news.
The biggest.
Tell them, Robin.
Holy superlatives, Batman. It's really exciting. Soon, very soon, Batman and I will be batapulting right out of your TV sets and onto your theater screens.
That's right, Robin. Our first full-length motion picture feature in color opens a whole new world of thrills. The big screen gives us more space on land, sea, and in the air to challenge the most cataclysmic collection of super criminals ever. Their minimum objective must be the entire world.
And here are the dastardly villains. The Catwoman.
Oh, you're going to see the perfect crime when I get Batman in my claws.
The Joker. Have you heard this one? It'll kill you, Batman. The Penguin.
There are two eggs this wily bird is going to scramble. Batman and Robin.
The Riddler.
Question. Who's going to make the feathers fly and knock Batman and Robin out of the sky?
See the new weapons in the Bat Arsenal combat the forces of evil. The Batcopter. The exploding, man-eating shark.
Holy sardine.
The relentless Megaton Magnet. The unholy Quartet's secret submarine.
Fire one! Fire one!
The Batboat in action. The deadly disintegrator. The attack on the Batcave.
Holy hallucination!
You'll blast through the skies on these mad, manned missiles.
And you'll be with me, Robin, at the Bat Scanner, eavesdropping on Batman's romance. And you'll shudder at the death-dealing Polaris missiles.
Brace yourself, Robin. This could be the end. And that's just a sample of the exciting exploits ahead in our first feature motion picture.
Holy memoranda, folks. Make a note not to miss it.
Good thinking, Robin.
Well, Eric, tell us what attracted you to a movie that I saw over 45 years ago here at the former State Theater right here on Elm Street.
I didn't see it in theaters.
I don't think you could. You weren't around in 1966.
The new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson comes out this weekend.
Right.
So I thought it would be good, especially after the seriousness of the Black History Month slate, to review a Batman film. And to me, this was the birth of the comic book film. I mean, you can reference the serials that came before it if you would like, but this was, for its time, over the top.
Well, I was talking with Gonzo, and Gonzo can take over. I mentioned to Gonzo, this movie was influenced by pop art. I mean, the whole this TV series came first. Then there's the movie that was rushed into production. But pop art, Warhol and other the pop art movement really influenced this. Take it away, Gonzo.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I was just telling you, like, it's coming back now, and like you see Pow, you see Wham, you know, that Liechtenstein look is coming back now with the dots, you know, the
dots, which
dot.
were on cheap. The comic books created the image with dots.
It's very much in style today.
Right, and Liechtenstein, his paintings cost millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
But this was influenced, the visual look, by pop art.
Yeah, you can see that.
So it is the first and pop art was influenced by commercial art, like Andy Warhol was a commercial artist, advertisements like Campbell's Soup, itself, the label, and comic books.
Yeah.
So it is the first comic book movie.
I mean, it looks like a comic book when they go bam.
Yeah.
That's comic book, you know.
Yeah, it was quite exciting at the time, particularly if you're a kid. But pop culture, you know, it was on the cover of Life magazine, which is a big thing then. And it was on twice a week. I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday. Of course, I watched it faithfully with my brother. It was either at 7 p.m. or 7:30 because they used to have an hour. Television used to start at 7 on network TV.
I'm sure it was popular because
but adults even talked about it. But then within 2 years, the whole phenomenon was over. But it was a big phenomenon. But then it resurrected itself.
Well, probably the 92 version.
Network cable TV.
Yeah, that probably brought Batman back to life.
Oh, geez, and how?
Nicholson was just perfect.
He's my favorite, although Heath Ledger's good. Hey, Eric, we'll talk. Eric, you're here. You take it. Who's your favorite Joker?
No worries. I actually love the Adam West Batman. I have the complete series on Blu-ray. And I will say that, you know, the first 2 seasons are just amazing. The third, I think what killed it for the third year was they went away from the 2-part. They were all one episode. So you killed people tuning in the next day.
Oh, they used to be cliffhangers because it was Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep, and then the third season they totally got rid of that.
They probably scaled it back to just once a week. Yeah, but
just even the writing quality from season 2 to 3, you can see went down immensely because it feels like every episode was rushed to get to the conclusion.
Probably cut the budget.
They did. It exponentially cut the budget.
People probably didn't want to hang on. Like, it's not like you could go back and watch it on DVR back then. If you missed it, you're screwed. So people probably complained. True. Like, I got to work Wednesday.
You know, you had to wait till the summer, and then they would rerun the program.
Yeah, that's not good.
There's no VCRs, no way to tape the stuff, and they used to have like Bonanza when it started in '59 had 39 episodes a year. Then it got to the lower 30s, then the high 20s. Then it used to be like 26 episodes. They'd run that, and then they would run in summer some of the reruns. You know.
So what Eric was saying, that's the first comic book movie of its, like a pioneer. What was the next one? Was there a decade? What was the next big smash?
What's the next comic book movie, Eric? Is it?
I would say Superman with
70s?
Christopher Reeve.
But Superman that was shot. I remember that. Of course, I was at freshman in college when that came out. That was not as anticipated as the Star Trek movie, which disappointed everybody, but that's another story. Except for the Superman shot by Donner is different than Superman 2 that was shot by Richard Lester, who's famous for making the 2 Beatles movies, Hard Day's Night and Help. Because Lester actually used a comic book palette of colors and effects for his movie. But Donner didn't do that. Not that I know.
The Donner cut is really the best version of Superman 2.
Right, the one they recreated.
Yep.
Yeah, but so it is a comic book movie in the sense that there were comic book characters.
Right.
But it wasn't. It was shot in an epic style. It might as well be David Lean, Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, at the time, Marlon Brando was the biggest star in the world. He was as respected as an actor as Laurence Olivier before Laurence Olivier cashed in too, just like Brando did. And and Gene Hackman and all.
See, I
those
thought
guys.
it took forever to get going. Superman.
One?
I thought it was a little, as a kid, a little
Right.
draggy.
I read the Superman as a kid, and then they would have these small books. They were only like this big. It'd be the old Superman comics, but they'd be black and white. So I'd read all the ones from the 30s and into the 40s. And Stan Lee in the 60s used to be on TV. I loved that was all the new. The Marvel comics that was a big departure because that had a modern sensibility brought by Stan Lee and his group.
It's surprising that they didn't take longer to cash in on this comic book. It's never not worked.
Well, the baby boomers had to get older.
It just seems like everything works.
See, my father's not going to go see something like this. He was born,
Now they're running out of them.
for World War II.
Literally running out of characters now.
Well, they'll just make some new ones.
I guess, but
I'll actually say the comic book movie that had a real comic book vibe to it is one that hasn't even been officially released. Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
I've seen parts of that.
What was that?
I've seen parts of that because I know one of the actors that was in it.
Actually, you can, if you go to comic book conventions, you can buy the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, he showed me a part that he was in.
I own Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I bought it off of eBay, and it's from the director.
Well, I can't imagine why they didn't turn that into a franchise. That was one of my favorite comics.
Well, what happened was there's a great documentary called Doomed where they talk about it. Basically, Avi Arad, who ended up being the head of Marvel Studios, at the time that movie was set to release, was really an up-and-comer in Marvel Studios and basically said, kill it, I have my own vision.
Right.
And that's really what happened, is Stan Lee withdrew support of it then, and it just kind of went down the commode.
Yeah, I heard there was all sorts of issues about rights, and they had to make it at a certain point just to make it and to roll over the rights, and then the lawyers became involved. And see, they're saying making this into a bigger franchise than a Roger Corman can handle that will make like $1 billion, where his movie wouldn't make anywhere near that. But so the Fantastic Four, who I grew up with.
But by getting dumped, it turned into like a cult thing.
Yeah, but it's not
like
the movie it could have been.
An insider collection guy,
Somebody's holding on to those rights for them to get even more money.
If you look at what Marvel was putting out, though, at that point in time, that movie was infinitely better than anything they were doing.
That's true.
I mean, you had the Incredible Hulk TV series that had Thor as pretty much a surfer dude. You had the Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren that is just abysmal. The Captain America movie with Matt Salinger that is pure schlock.
J.D. Salinger's son. Holden Caulfield's son. Hey, the thing is at that time, you expected movies like that to be slop. That was part of the fun.
But I own The Punisher, the Dolph Lundgren one, on DVD, and I've watched it once, and it was difficult. It is just so bad. So bad.
Well, they spend all the money on like Dolph Lundgren, and then they got $10
Louis
left
Gossett
over.
Jr.'s in it as well.
It seems like the worse the movie, though, almost the better over time it does with the collectors.
Well,
it's like it's so bad it's good type of thing.
Well, there are
Gonzo,
a lot of those movies are
age
forgotten,
makes The
but
Punisher
I
better.
love crappy movies.
I'm saying for the insiders, though.
Yeah.
When they go to Comic-Con, they can talk about that stuff because it's like everyone
Well-
wants to be the best of their inside circle.
Well, we'll have you back. We'll have Peter Stoller on, and he can talk about Attack of the Giant Leeches, and then that will bore the living hell out of you.
Yeah, I don't do boring well.
But the Attack of the Giant Leeches was an actual movie.
If we're
It's
talking
god
about
awful.
bad movies,
It's funny.
April Fool's Day, I will be reviewing arguably the worst film ever made.
Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Ishtar.
You can't review Manos on the radio. You need to see Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, Plan 9, you're trashing it. It's not that bad. It's actually a classic in its way.
See?
It's actually better.
It is. And I plan to discuss that, how it's
Eric.
very unfairly judged.
Eric, you should have seen it back in the late 80s when it was cobbled together from 16 millimeter prints. Now that they got all the elements, it's a lot better. It used to be really bad. We can talk about Night of the Ghouls and Glenn Glenda. I'm a big Ed Wood fan. And Johnny
actually have
Depp
the
was
Ed
great
Wood
as Ed
box
Wood.
set.
What? Excuse me, we didn't hear you.
I have the Ed Wood box set on DVD that has Glenn or Glenda, Bride of the Monster,
Bride of the
Night of the
Monster.
Ghouls,
I used Bride of the
Plan
Monster
9,
clips on my show.
Jailbait. Actually, a great film is called The Violent Years that Ed Wood wrote.
Well, he also plays a JD in it, a 40-year-old juvenile. He's the
He
guy with
does.
the knife.
I love The Violent Years. I think it's an amazing film.
Well, we'll have you on with Peter Stoller. That would be a mating from hell, because he loves Ed Wood.
I'd like to ask him a question.
Go ahead.
Of the last 5 Academy Award Best Picture films, did you like Fences? Did you like the new ones and stuff like that, or are you more of a do you watch the new movies? And what's your favorite one of the recent era? Like within 3-4 years, I don't know. For Eric.
That's a hard one for me.
You know what I really like?
The Denzel
Oscar
movie
winner.
Fences
I like
was
Birdman.
good.
I like Birdman.
Birdman
Speaking of
was
comic, I
that
thought
was great.
Brilliant.
That was
A lot of people
also
hate it.
Really, I liked it. It was
And
also 5-6 years
perfectly-
ago, though.
That was 2012. Perfectly cast.
Yeah,
Like Michael
12?
Keaton was perfect.
12?
Yeah, it's 2012. The time goes by fast.
What is
Gonzo.
happening?
I know. It seemed like a couple of years ago. I mentioned how much I love it. And people say, "Oh yeah, rap."
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, he's great, and it's just the one Hitchcockian from Rope, one shot.
Like going down Times Square, I always look in that area where they come out the door and they do the
Yeah.
whole thing. It's
When he
great.
comes out, is on. Well, yeah.
I think the last Best Picture I agreed with was probably 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, that was a great movie. I thought it was
was
superb.
great, but it was hard as well. Like that was a
harsh movie.
it was harsh, but I don't know. I don't know. I just don't.
hard to take.
Hard to take, but it seems a little dragged out as well. I don't know how to explain it. And I don't know. Is it a true story?
Yes.
Okay.
You need to. Eric was
It seems
explaining it on
far-fetched,
that.
but I guess it can't. I guess it wasn't.
All been validated. They've actually used the guy's autobiography
Imagine that.
because people were saying, "Well, it seems too much like Uncle Tom's Cabin and that." But researchers have
Roots.
actually used it and found places like where the slave market was and stuff. And Eric did 2 great shows on Matt Connerton of it.
I think the thing with, and then I think with 12 Years a Slave, I agree, Gonzo, it's a very tough watch. I told Matt and John after my review when I called into Matt's show that I've owned the Blu-ray since it was released, and I've watched it 3 times.
I like a tough watch.
It's-
like Manchester by the Sea, for instance. That's a freaking tough watch. Have you ever seen that?
No.
That's with Casey Affleck. He won Best Actor for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of controversy because he got his personal
Right.
life, but he won. He still won. And he deserved it. And that's a tough watch. Now,
I'll have to
well,
see
it's just awful. It's just a tragic tale. But like that, jeez, that was probably 5 years ago too. But like stuff like I like a tough watch. But like, what do you think of that one? Did you watch that one, Eric?
I have not seen Manchester by the Sea.
Bring your
And
tissues.
it's one of those movies I've always meant to see, but I have not.
We're Manchester by the Merrimack, by the way.
Well, it's a New England homage. It's just a tough life. It's it's about death. It's about.
He is from he's from Cambridge, Massachusetts.
But man, does he nail it? Casey just nails it. Whew. Gritty. But yeah, with the new movies, especially with COVID, it's weird because they're getting released through Netflix now, and it's like
causing lots of
I'm not watching movies as much anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
I find that I do, but my desire to watch them is delayed because of the streaming aspect of
There's
it.
no anticipation for anything.
Right, that's accurate. There just isn't that build.
Right. Like, I can't wait to see that. Probably Kong versus Godzilla was the last build-up movie that I can remember.
I went to see the last movie.
But that's
I
the
saw
movie
was
people
Godzilla.
wanted to go. They knew the date, and they went to it,
I prefer the movies I saw in '68 with King Kong versus Godzilla, or King Kong breaks out.
Right.
Or, at the end, he's in Hong Kong harbor attacking the people that tormented him on a ship. He's obviously in a big bathtub, and I find that kind of. It's kitsch, kitsch is anti-art. I like the Godzilla running around in a rubber suit.
I'm talking about something to look forward to.
I prefer King Kong from 1933 than the one in '76.
I can't stand all that crap. Anyway, I'm talking about something people are looking forward to.
Oh, come on. Charles Grodin was great.
Not really.
What did you say?
Charles Grodin was great.
Oh, God. Let's not get into that. That movie's so god-awful. And I have a personal story I will not share. It has to deal with Christmas of 1976 and the Bedford Mall, where they had the theaters about that. Hey, Brendan, you out there? Yes, I am. So we're going to talk about who's the best Catwoman ever. Let's roll C, Batman 2.
Hello, Batman.
You're a rare lady, Catwoman. You're right on time.
I'm rare. In more ways than that.
I'm glad you decided to surrender. We would have caught you eventually.
Do you think so?
Certainly, there's no escaping the inexorable law of justice. Shall we go?
Must we? So soon? I thought that, well, perhaps we might get to know each other a little better.
I would think that we know each other well enough by now.
Don't run away, Batman. I won't bite.
I'm not afraid of you, Catwoman. You're very beautiful, Catwoman.
Yes, you're quite right. I am.
Your propinquity could make a man forget himself.
I don't know what that means, but it sure sounds nice.
I refer to the nearness of you.
Batman, let's throw caution to the winds. I mean, after all, we are two adult human beings, and we're both interested in the same thing. Happiness.
Well, that banner saved us from getting banned.
That's a nice Catwoman right there.
Okay, we're going to show D, Batman 3. And then we'll, there were 3 Catwomen.
Oh, okay, we're good. Okay.
Is it 3 o'clock yet?
Almost, your royal goodness. It's 2 minutes off.
Oh, Oh. Well, then, we must prepare to meet our guests. Who are you?
Catwoman.
Is she on my list for today's audience?
No, Your Royal Goodness.
Call my social secretary for an appointment.
Sorry, Queenie, but I'm anti-social. How very nice of you to come. And tell me, where is the much-admired Batman and his youthful companion?
I'm afraid Batman may be a few minutes late, Your Highness.
Well, it's too bad. Because if they had been here, they might be able to save your worthless hide.
I beg your pardon? Saints preserve us! It's Catwoman!
In the adorable fur.
Eric, do you want to tell us about Catwoman and about Eartha Kitt and Julie Newmar and Lee Merriweather?
Julie Newmar is just so beautiful and gorgeous.
Right, we had to put a banner across her, some of her assets.
What an asset.
I think there's more than one asset that Julie Newmar has. There.
Yeah, but there's only one that was going to get us banned.
Still flustered.
Now, Julie Newmar was the first one, but she was in demand. She was in movies. She originally started on Broadway. She was 5'11", and she was famous for her figure. And then she was replaced by Eartha Kitt. Now, is Catwoman appear in season 3?
Yes, I believe 1 or maybe 2 episodes.
And is it Lee Merriweather who was in the movie?
Yes.
Okay. Eartha Kitt got in trouble and her career got hurt because in January of 1968 she was at a social for women at the White House with Lady Bird Johnson, and it was about all the unrest in the inner cities, and she mentioned that part of it was the Vietnam War, which Martin Luther King in a famous speech in '67 came out against the Vietnam War. And, oh, my God, America went cuckoo.
If you look at it now, everyone would say, hey, she was right.
She was right.
Yeah.
But that was not
the popular testament.
And you don't say that to the First Lady.
Well, the reason why is because people didn't want to admit that all these losses of life were for nothing. So
Oh, yeah, but
you can't devalue the lost life, is their argument, probably.
And you can't get over the fact that she was also African-American. She was black, or Negro is the term of that. And she's talking back to the First Lady.
Not anymore.
Yeah. And, right, for her to even be as Catwoman, that was something big. At the time Batman is on, there were only like 3 African-American actors in the entire Screen Actors Guild. And one of them was Bill Cosby. One was Ivan Dixon, who was in Hogan's Heroes. And the other guy, what's his name, that was in Mission Impossible? Greg Morris. So there's like 3 actors that were active in the Screen Actors Guild. And Melvin Van Peebles was the only African-American, I think, in the Directors Guild of America.
What was Catwoman's power? Seduction?
Well, Eric, what was Catwoman's power?
I mean, Batman looked pretty flustered in that scene.
I would say seduction is an astute observation. I would also say stealthiness. She is a master burglar.
Scorn.
And she's such a rare villain because the level of empathy she has. Like,
she's in love with Batman.
Well, they always show her being wronged first.
In the comics, she would never harm good people. There's a complexity to her that none of the movies or even the TV series really showed, and it's unfortunate.
Well, Michelle Pfeiffer was excellent as Catwoman. I really like that.
That's the closest we got to that confliction with her and the Christopher Walken villain.
Right. Who was made up. Yeah. He's not he's not from the canonical Batman.
But they were setting the table for why she is what she is with that scene.
And Michelle Pfeiffer is enough of an actress to pull it off, because she always did play like tragic characters.
Right.
You know. Right. So I actually like Batman 2 better than the Batman 1 of
I agree with that. I think Batman Forever. Sorry, not Batman Forever. Batman Returns is.
No, I think you would be on an island.
Is better than Batman.
I think the two of you would be the most, like, not the most popular take, right? Like
Oh yeah. But I just prefer a Batman 2.
But if we're talking, you know,
of the Burton movies,
of the Batman assets in the films, I would say Uma Thurman was right up there with the first Catwoman.
That's not. Yeah, but she's poison. That's later. And that's
but we're talking. I thought we were talking bucks here, John.
No, we're talking. We're talking about sheer pulchritude.
Then what am I doing
skills. Here? You're here to say hello.
I thought we were talking about Batman butts, dude.
No, that was just a side show. Hey, Eric, we're getting close. We're gonna sign off with you, and we're getting close to the end. I'll talk to you soon. We'll have you back very soon.
Oh, I always enjoy my time on WPYP, and I really enjoyed speaking with Gonzo today. That was quite fun.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for not blowing us off today.
Well, he did. He didn't blow us off. It just was a technical glitch.
I think you know where that was going. Inside joke.
Okay, we're going to end. Are you there, Brendan? We're going to end with a video, which is Howard Zinn, the great Howard Zinn, who we can go a match on. You can use Howard Zinn.
BU. Yep.
You're going to do your invitation?
No, I can't do it anymore. I was told I can't do Hopwood anymore.
Howard Zinn talking about Eartha Kitt.
The crime and the fear of it have eroded the quality of our lives. Commissions have been named to inquire into the cause, but in the end, the success of freeing our neighborhoods from hoodlums and fear depends upon the cooperation of all our citizens.
There must be an attempt to involve the citizens of the low-income, high-crime communities in their own crime prevention programs.
It was Mrs. Johnson's first doers' luncheon. Nearly 50 women leaders gathered at the White House to discuss practical, positive methods for combating crime. Suddenly, the discussion was interrupted by a fiery charge from singer Eartha Kitt, who claimed that crime in the ghettos stemmed from the war in Vietnam. The singer was ably answered by Mrs. Johnson, who replied, "Because there is a war on, that still doesn't give us a free ticket not to work for better things, for better education and better health for our people, and against crime in the streets."
To nominate for Woman of the Year Eartha Kitt, and for Man of the Year Dr. Benjamin Spock, because both refused to play the game. The game is be courteous, law-abiding, obedient, never raise your voice, even in the midst of hypocrisy. The game is be willing to die or send your sons to die whenever the number one leader of the nation says so and whether the cause is just or unjust. Eartha Kitt refused to play. She spoke her mind. She said the government is snatching young men from their families to fight in a war that no one has been able to explain or justify. When Eartha Kitt spoke out, Lady Bird Johnson was crying a little. I think it was good that she was moved. Perhaps she will move LBJ. She is a charming and gracious woman who loves beauty, but I think she's been sheltered from the ugliness that emanates from the White House. And LBJ, he loves his children and his grandchildren, but I wonder how much he loves the children and grandchildren of Vietnam. The other day I saw on film a little North Vietnamese boy who was lying, whimpering, crying, while doctors removed from his body, one by one, the pellets from an anti-personnel bomb that had been dropped by American planes. And every day we drop such bombs on North and South Vietnam, bombs designed not for steel bridges, but for human flesh. How can we justify this? Only by lying to ourselves, or by having our leaders lie to us. We become fanatic about the word communism. And this is part of the game. It's the game that nations have played all through history, of people killing one another every 10 or 20 years because the men in power tell us that the Catholics or the Huns or the Jews or the communists are about to take over the world. And I think the game will go on, and our children and our grandchildren will suffer from it unless we do like Eartha Kitt and break through the hypocritical silence, until we do like Dr. Spock and say it is right to refuse to fight in an unjust war. Our country was founded on a basic democratic principle which is far more sacred than the Selective Service Act or the Book of Table Manners. The principle that many of us have forgotten but that Jefferson put into the Declaration of Independence. And this is that government and laws are not sacred, that they are set up for certain ends, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, that when they destroy these ends, we have a right to disobey. And so I will say to everyone who can hear me, if your conscience tells you that it is wrong to cross the sea to make war on the people of Vietnam, and if you refuse to fight in this war, I support you, I admire you, as I admire Miss Eartha Kitt, as I admire Dr. Benjamin Spock, and all those other people who refuse to play the game of silence in the midst of murder.